The rain had been falling for hours, thick, heavy drops that turned the streets outside the stadium into rivers of silver. The match was long over. The chanting crowds had vanished, leaving behind nothing but scattered flags, crumpled cups, and the distant echo of celebration. But one boy hadn't gone home. He stood by the tall metal gates, motionless except for the slight trembling of his small shoulders. His hair was soaked, plastered to his forehead, and his thin jacket did little to keep out the cold. In his hands, a worn-out football, its white surface now brown and scratched, the word Ronaldo barely visible across it. His name was Timmy, 10 years old, from a small town that didn't even have a real football field, just a patch of uneven grass behind his school. He had dreamed for years of this day. His mom had saved for months, working extra shifts, just to buy 2 cheap tickets in the farthest row. For Timmy, that single glimpse of Cristiano Ronaldo sprinting across the field was worth everything. But now the game was over, the lights dimmed, and the cold began to bite through his clothes. Still, he didn't move. His mom was waiting in the car nearby, her hands on the steering wheel, watching him through the windshield. She'd called out twice already, but he'd only shaken his head. He couldn't leave. Not yet. Timmy's eyes were locked on the tunnel at the far end of the parking area, the one where the players' cars would drive out. Maybe, just maybe, if he waited a little longer, he would see him. The man who had changed his life without even knowing it. Inside his pocket was a folded piece of paper, soft from being held too tightly. He'd written it weeks ago, sitting at his desk under a flickering lamp. Dear Cristiano, I know you don't know me, but I play football every day because of you. When I got hurt, the doctor said I might never run again. But I watched you play, and I decided to try. You made me believe in miracles. Timmy pressed his hand against his pocket, feeling the letter like a heartbeat. He didn't even know what he'd do if he saw Ronaldo. Give him the letter? Ask for an autograph? Maybe just say thank you? Even that sounded impossible. A car door slammed somewhere in the distance, startling him. A few reporters were still milling around, their umbrellas bobbing like black ghosts in the dark. Then the stadium gates groaned shut behind him. For a long moment, everything was still. Just the sound of rain tapping on metal and the boy's quiet breathing. His lips were purple from the cold, but he didn't care. He'd waited too long to give up now. And then, faint at first, he heard the low hum of an engine. Headlights cut through the rain, sweeping across the wet ground, growing brighter and closer. A sleek black car turned the corner, moving toward the exit lane where Timmy stood. He blinked the water from his eyes, his heart thudding so hard it almost hurt. The car slowed down as it neared the gates. Through the misted window, he could just barely make out a shape, a man in a dark jacket, his profile sharp and familiar. Timmy's breath caught in his throat. He didn't dare move, didn't dare believe. But as the car rolled closer, something deep inside whispered to him that this was it. This was him. And just like that, the world around Timmy disappeared. The rain, the cold, the noise. Everything faded, leaving only the pounding of his heart and the glimmer of those headlights reflecting in his wide, tear-filled eyes. The car rolled closer, its tires slicing through shallow puddles that splashed against the curb. Timmy froze, hardly daring to breathe. The black vehicle looked expensive, too perfect, too clean, like something that didn't belong in his world. The glowing headlights blinded him for a second, and all he could see was light and rain. Then, as if time itself slowed down, the car stopped. Not far away, maybe 20 feet. The sound of the engine idling filled the silence, a deep, steady hum against the rhythm of the falling rain. Timmy's heart pounded so loudly that he was sure the driver could hear it. He didn't know what to do. Wave? Shout? Run? His legs felt heavy, his throat dry. The driver's window was tinted dark, almost black. Timmy leaned forward just a little, trying to see inside, but the reflection of the stadium lights danced across the glass like a mirror. All he could make out was the faint silhouette of someone sitting in the front seat. For a moment, he convinced himself it couldn't be him. There were many black cars, many players. Maybe it was just one of the staff. Maybe Cristiano had already gone. Maybe he was stupid for standing here, soaked and shaking, while his mother sat in the car waiting for him to come to his senses. He turned his eyes down to the ball in his hands. The word Ronaldo was almost gone, just a ghost of ink and memory. The sight of it brought a sting to his chest. He swallowed hard, fighting back the tears that burned in his eyes. He didn't want to cry. Not now. The car's engine hummed louder, and he thought it was leaving, that it would drive past him and disappear into the dark city streets. His hope began to crumble, piece by piece. But then, the sound stopped. The car didn't move. Instead, the headlights dimmed slightly. Timmy looked up, confused. The driver's side window began to roll down, slowly, smoothly, revealing a small gap. A cold gust of wind hit his face, carrying the smell of rain and leather seats. He could now see the outline of a hand resting on the steering wheel. Strong, familiar. And then he heard it. A voice, deep, calm, with that unmistakable Portuguese accent, calling out through the rain. "Hey, kid, what are you doing out here alone?" Timmy's breath caught in his chest. His mind screamed 1,000 things at once, but his body refused to move. That voice. He had heard it before, in interviews, in matches, in videos he'd watched over and over on his cracked tablet. It couldn't be. It had to be. For a moment, the boy just stood there, rain dripping down his cheeks like tears. Then, without realizing it, he whispered back, barely loud enough to be heard. I waited for you." The man inside didn't respond right away. The car stayed still, the engine low, the rain endless. And then, the door clicked open. The sound of the door unlocking sliced through the rain like a spark in the dark. Timmy's whole body stiffened. The handle moved, slow, deliberate, and for a heartbeat, he couldn't tell if this was real or something his imagination had built after too many sleepless nights watching highlight videos and dreaming of this moment. The door opened. A rush of cold air swept out, and a tall figure stepped into the dim glow of the streetlight. He wore a black hoodie, the hood pulled up, but even through the blur of rain, that face, that posture, there was no mistaking it. Cristiano Ronaldo. Not the billboard version. Not the larger-than-life superstar he saw in commercials. This was the real man. Tired, quiet, human. His hair damp, his jawline shadowed, eyes sharp but gentle in the half-light. Timmy's lips parted, but no sound came out. His mind blanked completely. Every word, every sentence he'd ever imagined saying gone. All he could do was stare. Cristiano shut the car door softly behind him, glancing around as if to make sure no one else was watching. The parking lot was empty now, the reporters gone, the world asleep. Only him, the boy, and the endless rain. He took a few steps forward, stopping just out of arm's reach. Water streamed down his jacket, glimmering under the light. His gaze lowered to the football in Timmy's hands. For a moment, he didn't say anything. He just looked, really looked, the way someone does when they recognize a piece of themselves in another person. "You were at the game?" Ronaldo finally asked. His voice was calm, lower than Timmy expected. The boy nodded, too nervous to speak. His throat felt tight, his heart somewhere up in his ears. "Why are you still here?" Cristiano continued. "It's late. You'll catch a cold." Timmy opened his mouth, but only managed a few shaky words. I wanted to see you. Just once." Cristiano tilted his head slightly, studying him. The rain pattered softly between them, filling the silence that followed. There was something raw and real in the way Timmy stood, small, trembling, yet unflinching. The kind of determination Ronaldo knew well. The footballer's eyes flicked to the letter sticking out from the boy's jacket pocket. "You brought that for me?" he asked gently. Timmy froze, then slowly pulled it out, the crumpled paper he had protected all night. His hands trembled as he held it out, not sure if he should offer it or just keep it close a little longer. Cristiano didn't take it yet. Instead, he smiled faintly, that rare, quiet kind of smile that wasn't for cameras. "What's your name?" he asked. "Timmy," the boy whispered. Ronaldo nodded. "Well, Timmy." He glanced toward the empty stadium behind them, then back to the trembling boy in front of him. "You picked a strange night to wait for a dream." Timmy swallowed, blinking the rain from his eyes. "Dreams don't wait for good weather," he said softly. And for the first time that night, Cristiano Ronaldo laughed. It wasn't loud, just a quiet, honest laugh, the kind that breaks through the cold and makes everything feel warmer. He looked at the boy again, longer this time. Maybe this wasn't just another fan. Maybe, tonight, something was meant to happen. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The world had gone still, as if even the rain didn't dare interrupt what was happening. The letter in Timmy's trembling hands had become more than paper. It was the bridge between a boy's hope and a man's memory. Cristiano finally reached out. His hand, steady, warm despite the cold, brushed against Timmy's as he took the letter. The boy felt his knees weaken. It was real. He was really standing there, handing a letter to the man he had dreamed about for years. Ronaldo unfolded the paper carefully. The ink was smudged in places, the handwriting uneven, small. The rain threatened to wash the words away, but he shielded it with his palm, leaning closer to read under the flickering light from the lamppost. Dear Cristiano, I don't know if you'll ever read this. My name is Timmy. I love football more than anything, but I hurt my leg 2 years ago, and they said I might never play again. But when I saw you score that goal, the one everyone said was impossible, I decided I wouldn't give up. I train every day, even when it hurts. I just wanted to say thank you for helping me believe. The letter was short, honest. No requests, no demands, just gratitude. But something about it hit Ronaldo harder than he expected. Maybe it was the quiet sincerity of it. Or maybe it reminded him of his own childhood. The days in Madeira when he trained barefoot, hungry, chasing a dream no one else believed in. He read it twice, then a third time. The corners of the paper were wet now, the ink beginning to blur. He folded it gently and slipped it into his jacket pocket. You wrote this yourself? He asked, his voice softer than before. Timmy nodded. I wanted to give it to you after the game, but there were too many people. Cristiano looked around. The empty parking lot, the silent stadium behind them, the boy standing in the cold. And you stayed, he said quietly. Timmy nodded again, this time with a hint of pride in his voice. Because I thought maybe if I waited long enough, you'd come. Ronaldo smiled faintly, a shadow of emotion crossing his face. You remind me of someone, he murmured. Who? Me, he said simply. The boy blinked, unsure what to say. Cristiano took a step back, his gaze drifting toward the sky, raindrops sliding down his face like melted stars. People used to laugh at me too, he said. They said I was too small, too emotional, too poor. But I didn't stop. You didn't either. Timmy's heart beat faster. The man he'd watched on screens, the man who seemed untouchable, was now standing in front of him, speaking to him as if they were equals. The world felt unreal, like a dream that didn't know it had come true yet. Cristiano looked back at him. Do you still play? Every day, Timmy said proudly. Even when it hurts. Ronaldo nodded slowly, a look of deep respect in his eyes. Then, without saying anything else, he glanced toward the car and back at the boy. Wait here, he said quietly. He turned and walked back toward the open car door. Timmy stood frozen, his heart racing, unsure what was happening. The door opened. Ronaldo leaned inside for a moment, rummaging for something. The sound of the rain grew louder, the seconds stretching endlessly. And then, he straightened up, holding something in his hand. A pair of white football boots, mud still clinging to the soles. Timmy's eyes widened. His breath caught in his throat. But Cristiano didn't come closer yet. He just stood there, holding the boots by their laces, the light catching the wet leather as the rain poured harder. He looked at Timmy and said softly, almost like a secret, Do you know what these are? Timmy could only shake his head. These, Ronaldo said, raising them slightly, scored tonight's goal. For a moment, Timmy couldn't move. The words hung in the cold air, heavier than the rain that dripped from the edge of Ronaldo's sleeve. These scored tonight's goal. He had watched that goal, the way Ronaldo cut through 2 defenders, twisted his body midair, and sent the ball flying into the top corner like a flash of lightning. The crowd had exploded. The commentators had screamed. And Timmy, he had cried. Not because of the score, but because in that moment, he believed anything was possible again. Now those same boots, those exact boots, were dangling just meters away from him. But Cristiano didn't move closer. He just looked at them for a while, the rain tapping against the leather like ticking seconds. Then he looked at the boy again. Do you know how many games these have seen? He asked quietly. Timmy shook his head. Too many, Ronaldo said with a soft chuckle. Too many goals, too many flights, too many nights away from my kids. He paused, his voice dropping lower. But every time I put them on, I remember something. I remember what it felt like to be a boy who just wanted a chance. Timmy didn't know what to say. His eyes flicked from the boots to Ronaldo's face, that calm, unreadable expression that always looked invincible on TV, now softened by something else. Something human. Cristiano looked down again, his fingers tracing a scuff mark near the toe. You know, People think success feels like fireworks, like fame. But sometimes it just feels like this. He gestured around them. The empty stadium, the rain, the quiet. Just a kid and a dream that refused to die. The boy's chest tightened. His hands gripped the football harder, as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. I wanted to give you something, Ronaldo said finally. Timmy blinked. His heart skipped a beat. Me? Yes, you. Cristiano took a slow step forward, his shoes splashing in the puddle between them. He held the boots by the laces, letting them sway slightly as he walked closer. The rain blurred everything. The cars, the lights, leaving only two figures, a boy who had never stopped believing, and a man who had once been that boy. When Ronaldo stopped, he was close enough for Timmy to see the faint scratch across his cheek, the raindrops clinging to his lashes. These boots, Cristiano said, raising them slightly, have done their part. They've carried me through games, through victories, through moments people will replay for years. He smiled faintly. But maybe it's time they carried someone else. Timmy's breath caught. He looked down at the boots, shining under the lamplight, soaked but perfect. He didn't dare think what Ronaldo meant. It couldn't be. It couldn't. Cristiano knelt slightly, so their eyes were level. Do you believe in luck, Timmy? He asked. The boy swallowed. I believe in trying, even when it hurts. Ronaldo's smile widened, proud and sad all at once. Good answer. He turned the boots in his hands, the water dripping off the ends like falling diamonds. Then maybe, he said softly, it's your turn to try wearing mine. Timmy froze, his mouth open, his mind blank, his heart crashing against his ribs. He thought he misheard. He had to. But Ronaldo was already untying the laces. The sound of the laces sliding free cut through the rain like a whisper. Timmy stood frozen, his heartbeat thundering in his chest, eyes wide, hands trembling by his sides. He didn't dare blink, afraid that if he did, the whole moment would vanish like a dream he'd wake up from too soon. Cristiano straightened up slowly, holding the boots by their tongues now, one in each hand. The leather glistened under the streetlight, a mix of rain and glory, worn but powerful. Boots that had felt the roar of 100 stadiums, that had kicked through fear, pain, and doubt. And now, they were coming toward him. Ronaldo stepped closer, each movement unhurried, deliberate. His shoes splashed softly against the pavement, the puddles rippling at his feet. The air between them seemed to thicken, like the world itself had stopped to watch. Timmy couldn't breathe. He could barely feel his own legs. His mother, still waiting in the car, pressed a hand to her mouth when she saw what was happening. When Cristiano stopped, he was just a step away. The smell of wet grass, rain, and the faint trace of cologne hung between them. The footballer looked down at the boy, at his messy hair, his pale face, his eyes that burned with disbelief and wonder. These, Ronaldo said quietly, lifting the boots slightly, have seen the best and worst of me. They've been through wins, losses, injuries, and prayers. He took another small step. Now they were close enough that Timmy could see the faint scratches across the leather and a little patch of dried mud that no one had bothered to clean off. Cristiano's gaze softened. You waited for me tonight, he said. You believed I'd come. Timmy tried to speak, but his voice came out as barely a whisper. I didn't want to give up. Ronaldo nodded slowly, the corner of his mouth lifting just a little. Good. Never do. Then, in one simple, graceful motion, the kind that would be replayed in the boy's memory forever, Cristiano leaned forward and placed the boots in Timmy's hands. The boy's fingers barely closed around them. They felt heavy, unreal, warm from the man who had just worn them. His breath hitched, and for a second, the only sound was the rain hitting the ground around them. Timmy looked down at what he was holding. The same boots that had scored the goal he'd watched from the farthest row, the ones he had dreamed about owning since the first time he'd kicked a ball. He could see the faint initials printed on the side, CR7. He looked up slowly, eyes wide, voice shaking. These are yours. Cristiano smiled. Not the big, proud grin people saw on TV, but something smaller, warmer. No, he said softly. They're ours now. Timmy blinked, trying to stop the tears that blurred his vision. His small hands clutched the boots to his chest like they were something sacred. I don't deserve these, he whispered. Ronaldo's voice was calm, but there was weight in every word. You earned them the moment you decided not to quit. The boy's lips trembled. His heart felt too full for his body to hold. Cristiano placed a hand gently on his shoulder, firm, reassuring. "Promise me one thing, Timmy," he said, "that you'll wear them. Not keep them in a box. Not hide them. Play in them. Let them remind you who you are." Timmy nodded, his voice breaking. "I promise." Ronaldo smiled again, then stepped back slightly, his hand falling away. The rain kept falling, steady and endless, but now it felt different, softer, warmer somehow. Timmy glanced down at the boots again, still half afraid they'd vanish. But they didn't. They were real, just like the man standing in front of him. And in that quiet, perfect moment, under the empty stadium lights and the pouring rain, a dream that once belonged to a boy and a man who never stopped chasing his own became one and the same. Timmy stood there, drenched, clutching the boots as if they were made of gold. The rain poured harder now, yet neither of them moved. There was something sacred in the air, a kind of silence that existed only between people who truly understood each other, even without words. Cristiano watched the boy for a long moment, his eyes distant, like he wasn't seeing the parking lot anymore, but something far away, buried deep in memory. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but full of something raw. "You know, Timmy," he began, glancing up at the dark sky. "A long time ago, I was just like you." The boy looked up, confused. "Like me?" Ronaldo nodded slowly. "Yeah, a kid who couldn't stop dreaming, even when it didn't make sense. I grew up on a small island. We didn't have much. Some days, I didn't even have money for a proper ball, so I played with crumpled socks or empty bottles." He smiled faintly, his eyes softening as the memories came back. "There was one night. I was about your age. It rained just like this. I waited outside a training ground after a match, hoping one of the older players would talk to me. Just one word, one sign that I mattered." Timmy listened, every breath caught in his chest. The image of the world-famous Ronaldo, standing in the rain as a lonely boy, didn't fit at first. But the way he said it, it was too real not to believe. "They didn't notice me," Cristiano continued. "Not that night. No one did." He paused, his voice lowering, almost to a whisper. "But I promised myself something. I said if I ever make it, I'll never walk past a kid who believes." The words struck deep, slicing right through the distance between fame and childhood. The rain blurred everything, but Timmy could still see the emotion in Ronaldo's face, quiet, steady, but undeniably there. "That promise," Cristiano said, looking right into his eyes now, "is why I stopped tonight." Timmy's lips parted, but no sound came out. His throat tightened, his vision stung. All he could do was stare at the man standing before him. Not as a footballer, not as a superstar, but as someone who had once been exactly where he was. Cristiano crouched slightly again so they were eye level. Rain dripped from his hood, sliding down his cheek. "You see, it's not just talent that takes you places," he said softly. "It's hunger. It's patience. It's believing in yourself when nobody else does." Timmy nodded slowly, trying to hold back the tears that kept threatening to fall. Ronaldo smiled gently. "I see that fire in you. I saw it when you didn't leave, even when everyone else did." The boy swallowed hard. I just didn't want to give up." "I know," Cristiano said, his tone quiet but certain. "That's exactly why you won't." He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder again, firm, proud, almost like a father's touch. "Listen to me, Timmy. Life will try to knock you down. People will laugh. They'll tell you it's impossible. But that's when you play harder. That's when you prove them wrong." Timmy nodded again, this time with more strength in his eyes. Cristiano glanced down at the boots the boy still held tight. "These won't make you special," he said. "You already are. But maybe they'll remind you that even the biggest dreams start with the smallest steps." He straightened up again, the faintest smile returning to his face. "One day, when someone asks you who gave you those boots, tell them the truth." Timmy frowned slightly. "What truth?" "That you didn't get them," Ronaldo said softly. "You earned them." The boy's eyes shimmered. The rain mixed with his tears, but he didn't care anymore. Cristiano took a slow breath, glancing toward the empty road behind him. "Come on," he said. "You should get back to your mom. She's worried." Timmy turned slightly toward the car, but his feet refused to move. A part of him didn't want this moment to end, because deep down, he knew it was one he'd carry for the rest of his life. Ronaldo noticed. He smiled again, a little sadly this time. "Don't worry," he said quietly. "You'll see me again. Maybe not here, maybe not soon, but if you keep going, I'll be waiting at the finish line." Cristiano glanced toward his car. The rain had soaked through his hoodie, droplets tracing lines down his jaw. He looked back at Timmy one last time, his expression calm but thoughtful, like he was choosing every word carefully. "Timmy," he said, his voice steady over the sound of the storm. "Someday you'll understand. Dreams don't come true because you wish for them. They come true because you work for them." Timmy nodded, clutching the boots tighter to his chest. Cristiano smiled faintly. "Every time it hurts, every time you want to quit, remember tonight. Remember how it felt to wait when everyone else left. That's where real strength is." The boy blinked, the words sinking deep into his heart. "I'll remember," he whispered. Ronaldo tilted his head slightly, a spark of warmth in his eyes. "Good. And when you score your first goal wearing those," he paused. "Don't thank me. Just smile. I'll know." He gave one last gentle pat on the boy's shoulder, then turned toward the car. The headlights flashed as he opened the door. Timmy wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in his throat. He just stood there, soaked, watching his hero disappear into the soft glow of the rain. The engine started, quiet but powerful. The car rolled forward slowly, and before it vanished into the dark, Cristiano lowered the window once more and called out through the rain, "Keep believing, champion." Then he was gone. The red taillights disappeared into the curtain of rain, leaving nothing but darkness and the faint echo of tires on wet asphalt. For a few long seconds, Timmy didn't move. It was as if the whole world had stopped breathing with him. Then the silence hit, deep and almost unreal. No shouting crowds, no roaring engines. Just rain, soft and endless, falling on his shoulders, on the boots pressed tight against his chest. He looked down at them again, water dripping from the laces. They didn't shine like trophies. They looked worn, used, alive, real. And suddenly, it struck him. The man he had spent years admiring wasn't just a legend. He was human, and he had seen something in him. Timmy's throat tightened, and before he knew it, a tear slid down his cheek. Not from sadness, but from something deeper, the kind of feeling that changes you forever. He turned toward the stadium one last time, its lights now dimmed to a soft glow behind the clouds. That massive place, which had once felt untouchable, now seemed smaller, closer, achievable. "Keep believing, champion." The words echoed in his head, louder than the rain. He whispered them to himself, tasting each one like a promise. "I will." The rain soaked his hair, his clothes, his shoes, but inside, he felt warm, strong, ready. He took one slow, steady breath, then another. And when he finally walked toward the car where his mother waited, he wasn't just a boy anymore. He was a dreamer who had just been handed his first piece of destiny. The car door creaked as Timmy slid inside, his hair dripping, his clothes soaked through. His mom turned to him instantly, her face a mix of panic and confusion. "Timmy, you're freezing. What were you?" She stopped mid-sentence when she saw what he was holding. The white boots rested in his lap, shining faintly under the soft glow of the dashboard light. Her eyes widened, disbelief freezing her words. "Are those?" Timmy just nodded, his lips trembling, not from the cold, but from everything that had just happened. His mom's eyes filled with tears. "No, Timmy, it can't be." She reached out, gently touching the side of the boot, where the faint CR7 marking was still visible through the rainwater. It was real, all of it. For a moment, she just stared, at her son, at the boots, at the storm outside that somehow felt gentler now. "He gave them to you?" she whispered. Timmy nodded again. His voice came out quiet but sure. He said, "I earned them." His mom pressed a hand to her mouth, speechless. She had seen her boy struggle through pain, through therapy, through nights when he cried because his leg wouldn't move the way he wanted. And now, sitting beside her, was that same boy, holding proof that miracles could happen if you waited long enough. She started the car, wiping her eyes. "You're going to tell me everything," she said softly, smiling through tears. Timmy leaned back against the seat, the boots resting carefully in his lap. But he didn't say a word. Not yet. He just stared out the window, watching the raindrops race down the glass. Out there, somewhere in the night, a black car was driving away, carrying the man who had changed everything. And as the city lights blurred past, Timmy smiled quietly to himself. Not the kind of smile you wear for a photo, but the one that happens when you know your life has just taken a new turn. He whispered the words again under his breath, almost like a prayer. Keep believing, champion. His mom glanced at him, puzzled. What did you say? Timmy just smiled wider. Nothing, Mom. I'm just thinking about tomorrow.